but we have a 10 or 15 minute panel on blogging. It's all about how to use blogs. So let me introduce the panel to you. On the far side, we have Tracy Stannard, who is from Magenta E-Media, and she's an international author, and she built up a website or a blog that was getting tens of thousands of visitors every month, and that's what got her going. So she's an expert on blogging. We have Andy Britnell, who's actually doing our WordPress for Beginners workshop later on. So Andy's an expert on WordPress. We've got Dee, you all know Dee already. Dee is in the middle. And at this end we have Tom, who is the book writer. And he is an author himself and a mentor for authors as well. And they're here to tell you a little bit about blogging. But before we started, what I thought would be interesting was each panel member just tell me very quickly one thing about how blogging has helped you with your business. So should we start with Tracy?
Yeah, okay. I had a totally different business actually, it was in baking, and I had a little boy and I started a baking business from my home, and part of the business is I actually began a blog, and I blogged consistently for 2 years, and through doing that I got that blog to #1 in the industry in the UK, and it basically opened up the opportunity to work with big brands such as Sainsbury's, UK TV, major magazine publishers, got my work published internationally. So that's how blogging has influenced my business and helped really to gain wider exposure.
Fantastic. Andy?
I started off as a specialist in business development and personal development, and my partner, Judy Hemmingsley, had a blog called Work From Home Wisdom. And when she first got it done, it wasn't working for her. So I took it on board because I have a little bit of IT skill. And today, if you type in work from home, she's second in Google. So people have saw how successful I was with that, and they now come to me to get their blogs done because they know that I can get it visible and on the first page of Google if you do it right.
Fantastic, thank you, Andy. Dee?
It's that dirty word, I've made money with blogging, so I video blog for the Institute of Directors, I blog for some very big brands like witchfranchise.com. I've got a little blog on my own website. I don't monitor the traffic, I know I should do all of that, but fundamentally I'm a strategic blogger. I'm blogging to build expert status and to sell more, so I get things like £3,000 public speaking engagements if I put things about public speaking on my blog. I use it as a strategic tool, but I'm a writer, I like the crafting of words, online, offline. It's again about that building up of expert status and also sharing your wisdom. But I never lose sight of the fact I'm in it to make some money by sharing my expertise. It's not just something that I want to do as a hobby. I'm definitely a strategic blogger.
And Tom?
And I'm like, yeah, I think that blogging is really important. If you write a blog every day or every week or every month, it keeps your linguistic centres in your brain going, which is great if you're a writer. And every blog nowadays can become a book. And nowadays there's not much difference between a blog and a book. So for example, some of my books are excerpts are serialised on other people's blogs. So, and you can even now, I think even in the States, if you've got a Kindle, you can actually publish a blog so it's purchasable on a Kindle. It's coming over to the UK, I think, in the next year or so. So you can actually make money from your blogs in that way as well by serialising them.
Fantastic. So what questions do you have about blogging?
Could you?
What's the best platform to set your blogging page up? Is there a best platform, or have you used any?
There's probably about 10, 15, but I would suggest that WordPress is a self-hosted WordPress blog on WordPress.org rather than WordPress.com would be the one that I would suggest you start off with. You can have other blogs as well running alongside, so Tumblr is another one which is quite good if you've got lots of images and that's your business, then that's a useful one as well.
Yeah, I agree with WordPress, but if you've got a Twitter account and you want to blog, if you want to do a blog on Twitter, go to twimagination.com, it's free. Twimagination, like imagination with a TW, and you can blog on Twitter using Twimagination.
limited to 140 letters?
No, you can do like whole page of it. So I serialise some of my books on there as well.
Thank you. What's the site again? Twimagination?
Twimagination.
Nick, my business is, with John, is customer care. There's a lot of forums on the net. You know, customer care, this, that, and the other, and comments. Do you find those effective
Yes, you
vehicles to actually get business?
Yes, I do. I
You
do.
understand- You know what I mean?
I do, because I do it myself. I think there's a difference between blogging on your own site to keep your site live and vibrant and share your expertise, and identifying forums in which you can respond to questions and also share your expertise. And my view on that is always be quite clear what your role is. You're not being disingenuous, making out that you're another consumer trying to help another person. But there's definitely a part to play, and that's how I started my business, was on the Enterprise Nation website, responding to the forums to small businesses. And as a consequence of that, I got work with Royal Mail and had all sorts of exposure. So
And do you unashamedly promote yourself on that?
no, I wouldn't, not unashamedly promote myself, because to be honest with you, the mere fact that you are being an expert trying to help is in itself sufficient payment for it. The way I look upon it is if that people know what you do, they'll Google you and say, in my case, they'll buy your books anyway. So I wouldn't go onto a forum and start blogging about my books and how great they were, because I think it'd be a bit, I'd really much rather...
Oh, right, but a lot of them do.
They do,
And it's not my style, and I just
No.
thought, well, maybe I need to learn to do that.
Yeah, there's definitely a value in it. It's something that I've made my name in online, and it's attracted very big brands that come to me now just by virtue of sharing freely, not tiny little bits that with a view to snaring somebody into your scheme. Just look upon it, you're a custodian of all this knowledge and expertise. Find outlets online that you can express that, whether it's on your own site or on other sites as well.
And genuinely share.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd second that as well. Just be as helpful as you can. You know, don't promote anything. Just be helpful and give away as much value as you can. And if people want to click on your website, as Dee said, they'll find you if they want to work with you. But I think you have to go with that intention of helping and sharing what knowledge you have.
And is that how you got internationally? You wrote a book on, and you got it published through blogging?
Do you know what? It's interesting actually. I had a conversation with a colleague earlier, and we were saying that when I first started to blog, I was very reluctant about sharing all my secrets because I felt very uncomfortable. And I said, well, if I'm going to be putting it out there, who's going to want to come on my courses? Who's going to want to know? And actually, those people at the time said to me, just put your information out there, they will still come. And that is absolutely true. I think that even if people digest all your content, they will still see you as an expert, and they'll still come for more, and they'll still buy and purchase other services from you. So I would wholeheartedly recommend that you put your content out there.
Yeah, John and I were having that very conversation.
Fantastic. So we've got a question in the front.
What's the best way to build a quality following for your blog without going out and continually begging people to follow you?
Promoting it. Most people put content on and don't think about promoting it. So promoting it on social networks and actually talking to people, talking about giving value. Maybe there's someone in the market who's an influencer who maybe have a Facebook page, or maybe they have another blog, and you can offer them maybe a guest post which adds value to their blog or adds value to their Facebook page. Because people are always looking for good content. So if you can provide them with good content, then you start to actually engage your network. So for instance, Judy wrote a guest post on someone's blog, and she got, you can always see the spike in traffic if that blog is has got lots of visitors. So it's a good idea to get out there and build the following offline rather than...
Yeah. I think it's really engaging all of the channels, and you should have a good biography, which is 150 to 200 words that says how great you are, that talks about the value of your blog, your expertise, and make sure that if you're given, for example, I spent a couple of years writing for the Daily Mail, they had this Financial Mail website until it stopped. I was their blogger, and my payment for that was the bio that had a link through to my website, and that drove traffic onto my website. What I would say is there's no magic pill. It's about, you said, about creating really good quality stuff that's relevant to your, your starving crowds, whoever your target audience is, because what then happens is you will attract people to it through the recommendation. But I think social media like Twitter is great for getting retweets of your blog. So an enticing headline should ensure your blog posts get retweeted, which in itself will bring traffic back to your site. But I think you're right, never lose sight of the fact there's so much crap on the internet now and snake oil merchants that fundamentally it's about just creating stuff that's well written with great information as well. The two have to go together. Great expertise that's been shrouded in poor grammar, clunky sentences ain't going to win you a following. So craft content that people want, then be in it for the long haul. It's not something that's going to happen like that.
And it's also about having I think it's having a micro niche. Too many people are generalists and try and cover too many bases. But if you try and have a bit of a micro niche about who your ideal client is, and then you write for them, then that's the sort of people that you're going to attract.
Fantastic. We've got a question in the front here.
Could each of you give a tip for any one blog piece, bits of content that would really help with that one piece?
Solve the problem.
Each
I've just been in discussions with Barclays, and the reason they came on to me was we love the fact that you do top tips. It's the old-fashioned stuff that came out of America that Drake and Bird Ogilvy had all been espousing yonks ago. 7 top tips, 5 ways to improve. And people go, oh no, that's not sophisticated enough, darlings. Well, it works for me and seems to attract the likes of global brands as well, and so you don't need to be too clever. 3, 5, 7 and 10 are magic numbers.
Have you been to my webinar though? I'm going to talk about this, but basically I like being slightly cheeky and doing something that resonates with something that's kind of semi-topical at the time. So that makes you stand out from the noise more.
Says the man with 50 Shades of Plain as his...
Nifty
Shades.
It got me in.
Yeah.
I've got a clue what I'm buying into. I was reading the book last night in preparation.
Yeah.
I'm no Anastasia though.
We've got a question for the gentleman here, and then we'll come to the front.
Want me to just say my bit at the end?
Oh,
Sorry.
Leave her out.
I was going to say something that can even evoke emotion or make people take action. So think about your content being inspiring, engaging, or entertaining, or informative, but something that will evoke an emotion with the reader.
A question from the gentleman here, and then
You
one in the
mentioned
front.
enterprisenation.com and getting through forums there. Can you recommend any forums? Because I use LinkedIn forums, various discussion groups locally in Surrey. Can you, but nationally, what would you recommend?
I've got to be honest with you, that the forums, they're ones that my clients will go on to, like I've got motorhomes and caravans. One of my clients will go on to motorhome and caravan forums. For me now, I don't really go on forums anymore because for various reasons, but I would tend to write on sites like whichfranchise.com. I think what I'd say to you is find out the influential sites that are custodians of loads of juicy potential customers that you want to communicate with, and then pitch to them. And so I got the Financial Mail by spending about an hour responding to a journalist on the website saying how much I loved her piece, how I felt I could add some value, and that's how I got the contract for writing every week for the Financial Mail. So it's first of all, get your audience, do online searches for where the forums are, then read the forums. It's in the same way that you get PR for your business. You study obsessively the content and tone of the publication. And that's how I would do it, rather than blasting off specific forums, because there are loads of forums.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's understanding where your ideal client is actually online, where they might be, and then going on there.
We've got a question right at the front here.
About other people's blogs opposed to ours. We've got a stationery company and we're quite often contacted by people saying, can we review your products? And mummy bloggers seem to be a powerful force. How do I find out? They really are. I mean, Mumsnet, they're massive.
Yeah.
But how do we find out as a business? We can't afford a small business to be sending out product to all of these people. How do I find out who are the most influential bloggers that I could use and send products to?
I mean, you've got things like Daryl Wilcox has got a site called responsesource.com that's got influential. I can give you the details of that in the break, details of journalists and bloggers, but really for me, I build media lists, both blogging and offline, by searching on Google. So if I want to curate, say, a list of all the commercial vehicle blogs and publications, I'll do Google search. Then what I then do is go on and find out what kind of blog it is by its appearance, by its its readership. And there's no really getting around that. You can use what's called an info trace service, which is the first half hour is free. Again, I'll give you the details in the break. And they will do a free market research appraisal. If you say, I want to know all the blogs that apply to mums, they will come back with a list of them for you. Then I will augment that as well. That's INFOTRACE. First half an hour is free, thereafter it's 40 quid an hour, but you'll get great media lists, either blogs or publications. So do your own search, use services like that, and that's how I arrive at juicy lists. And then it's down to doing the hard yards of researching the site, and also finding out its tone, because if they're a bunch of vicious dragons, not saying they are, you've got to be really careful. It's whether they want, sometimes with bloggers they want very technical stuff, other times it's more cuddly and softly, so I would choose them. If they approach you, just do your background information on them.
Or you can just sign up to their free newsletter and see what their marketing messages are like,
Yeah.
whether it's consistent and professional, and whether you want to be associated with it.
And I do follow quite a lot of them on Twitter, and it's a very tight group of women who are constantly communicating together about things.
Yeah, you might be
Quite
just
scary,
chasing the
actually.
same market on different platforms,
Yeah.
so in which case you could then say, well, where else could I go geographically or demographically?
But make friends with them, that's the one thing I do. I get absolutely loads of PR, absolutely shed loads, and I make friends. I go to lunch with editors and journalists, I find out about them, what they like, they don't like, and I really craft copy that's to their exact spec. And it seems to work, and so you're better off having 3 or 4 where you're cultivating warm relationships and putting the hard yards into that than you are just having a list of 30 where you think, God, I'd like to get a bit of a touch with each one of them.
And I've been on the other side of that. You know, I've been where I've had companies contacting me and saying, will you promote this? Will you do this?
Yeah.
So I think that's right. I think it's about relationships, because when you're getting, you know, several a day requests, you can't, as a blogger, if you are influential, you're not going to be able to answer every query, or if you know, it's a standard response back. So I think, again, pick 1 or 2 possibly and develop a relationship. They're more likely to want to work with you. There is as well, though, there is this kind of movement that is starting in different niches now, particularly with the mums and arts and crafts, which is around, you know, bloggers wanting to be financially compensated as well, because there is getting to be people that it's an uncomfortable feeling that people are being asked to do promotions and they're not getting compensated for that. So just bear in mind that the landscape is slightly changing with those niches, that people may say, well, yes, but you know, you need to charge for that promotion. So something to think about.
I had lunch with a load of editors last week, and I put forward a proposal. This is for online and offline. And what I do when I'm meeting with journalists is I put a proposal and say, here's how I believe we can add value to your site, your publication. I give ideas. And the editor actually said at the lunchtime, you make our job so much easier for us because we don't have to think too much. Now that doesn't work in every scenario, but if you're able to sit down and think about alignment of that blog site and also offline publications too, with what you can offer them, and put forward a discussion document. And I was in the pub having lunch, very hard trying to be charming and smart, food and all the rest of it flying around, but fundamentally get that proposal in place, and you get it by understanding their site and who they're aiming at. And then you're actually giving them something that fires their imagination, because what these guys were saying is they get requests like Dear Editor. They hate that, you know, Dear Editor, or Dear Sir Stroke Madam, that kind of palaver. It's all in the PR chapter in there. And you've got the book, so it's all that. It's got everything, even emails that I write to editors, because you've got to be, there's so much stuff now, they've been so bombarded, aren't they, journalists, that you've got to stand out by being charming, you know, relevant, making their job really easy for them.
We're going to have to wrap this up, being the shortest ever blogging one. I wondered if you could each give us your one top tip on blogging to end up with.
I would say be consistent and stick at it. It's not overnight, but if you're consistent, you'll build an audience and a following, and you'll start to see results.
Never underestimate the power of your intellectual property.
Be cheeky, ask for it. If you don't ask, you don't get. Get yourself out there.
And I'd say keep it short and sweet.
Give the blogging panel a round of applause on that note.